Hello, hello, hello. Is this thing on? Are we rolling? How are you guys doing? You doing okay? If you didn't know, you are listening to In the War Room. This is my studio. I'm calling it The War Room, and we are in it. Well, we're going to start today with a mental health check in. As you heard at the top, I am doing absolutely wonderful, as I should be. I this week finally got to putting in the 500 series rack and installing the modules. I have also started in on fixing up my reamp channel. If you didn't know, a few months back, I tried to start a reamp channel where I can use guitar pedals and the like for mix tools, and I apparently bought the wrong box. It did not last very long. My fault completely. But I have finally gotten the box that I need. You can see it right back over here. It is the Radial EXTC SA. It's a guitar loop interface that shuttles the signal, comes out into the pedals, back in. It handles all the impedance and all the signal level mismatches and everything. It just makes it happen. But I digress. Back to mental health. I am doing absolutely wonderful. I am keeping up with my meditation. It is absolutely 100% changed my life. I do it as much as I can. Sometimes I'm just tired when I come in, and I'll start off, and then I realize, whoop, I'm dozing off. Let me go ahead and finish and go upstairs and go take a nap. I have also started, when I get home, taking a little bit of a stretch right there in the cul-de-sac. I take a little bit of a stretch, and I go walking and go for a quick walk. It started off with just going up to the stop sign and back, and then I went up to the other stop sign and back once I got used to that, and then now I've graduated up to going all the way around the block, and now I'm starting to include the family on days where it's really, really nice outside and it's sunny and weather's great. It's like, hey, let's all go for a quick walk. Let's go around the block real quick. It's definitely proving to be a worthy addition to upgrade quality of life. And speaking of quality of life, another thing I started doing is when I'm in the car and I am on my way to work or on my way home from work, I've started turning the music off and just having some silence, just, some time to myself to reflect and unwind. As I'm getting older, I am finding more and more that I value silence. So the saying goes, silence is golden, duct tape is silver. Next thing on my list in my notes for today, if you will allow it, allow me to get a little nerdy, I would like to talk about surprise Magic the Gathering. Some of the releases that they are hitting hard with. I kind of feel like that the Innistrad Remastered, that dropped in January. That was like, the first few weeks of January that dropped. And it was completely overshadowed by Aether Drift, however you say it. And if you ask me, it's not that great of a release. I'm not that excited about Aether Drift. One, while I do think it's pretty cool that we have some cards that have been done in the Rat Fink style, art style, that while that's pretty cool, they don't feel like Magic cards to me. It does not feel like the game. And in things where it's like the art sort of breaks the game. Not necessarily mechanically breaks the game, but the art just kind of pulls you out of that fantasy realm. It's just a little too real, I and I'm not knocking it. If it's something for you, by all means, go get it, go collect it, and have your fun. But all I'm saying is it's not for me. I'm not that excited about it. And here we go again, Wizards of the Coast, pushing stupid hard, which I don't necessarily disagree with the crossover, but Final Fantasy. Here we go, where it's the end of February, and I don't think Final Fantasy drops until like June. And here we are pushing the precons, pushing all of the art and cards and stuff. And they're making a big push for it. And it's sort of overshadowing Tarkir Dragonstorm. And, I've looked at some of the spoilers for Tarkir, and, I'm actually a little bit excited. There's a couple of enchantment cards from this next release that could go in a couple of my decks and make my decks better. Like, mechanically, these are great cards, and the art is, it's just run of the mill magic. It's the same old, same old. It's the magic that I fell in love with way back when. Anyway, let me get to my original point. I kind of got off on a tangent there. I have two deck lists. I have just finished up working on getting all of the cards for my Gain Drain deck. And stay tuned for that. I've got a Nerding Out video that's going to outline that deck and show what that deck's capable of doing. But I have two different deck lists that I have none of the cards for, that I am looking to start getting the cards for. One of them is the I have an Assassin's Creed, sort of a fan deck. It does okay, but it's my like nerdy fandom for Assassin's Creed. Like, if you didn't know, that was one of the newer games that I fell really hard into, and my absolute favorite release, my favorite version or edition of that game. Not to knock any of the newer ones, but I absolutely loved the third one, because you got to whoop up on some red coats. Like, it really was the movie Patriot in video game form. Like, I fell in love with that game. And the other one that I am actually a little bit more excited about, because functionally and mechanically this deck works pretty freaking well. This deck kicks the booty. And let me get to it. It's Jurassic Park, Jurassic World. Those dinosaur cards are just absolutely amazing. The value that you get for big stompy creatures doing big stompy things, and for something that's like, it could be tribal. And if you don't know what that means it is like an archetype, and you have a whole bunch of the same archetype cards, and they all generate some synergy and work well together with each other, that reduce the mana cost to get big creatures out and everything like that. And it's just a pretty freaking sweet deck. And it has the whole like fan homage thing going for it as well, from the first Jurassic Park movie. I remember, as a youngin', going to watch that with my dad at the movie theater, and I remember being, nervous for what it was, and being amazed at the graphics for what it was at the time. It was absolutely amazing. And, 10 out of 10 would recommend. And now it's time for a little bit of a story in keeping with the Magic the Gathering theme. It was about maybe 2 years ago, right after we were all opening up back up after the pandemic. My family and I took sort of a staycation weekend over to, I think, the Sandy Springs area. We stayed in a hotel and went, the shopping and the mall that's there. Part of that staycation weekend was going to the store and picking up booster packs. My wife thought that would be a good idea for us to sit in the room and open up some booster packs. And I need to back up a little bit and preface this with, at the time, I had sort of been out of the loop when it comes to Magic. I hadn't been following what Magic was doing. I still loosely was looking at releases, but wasn't interested, and it really wasn't at the forefront of my nerdiness. I was dealing with other things at the time, and during my time being out of the loop, there were some things that I know of now, like secret layer drops and all the big collectors packs and the like borderless extended art and box toppers and collector's edition things and collector's printings of the cards. All of that just kind of exploded onto the scene. And I totally missed it. I didn't know it was a thing. And as I was getting back into Magic and I was doing some research and looking at things, I was noticing that these collector things had become a thing, and so I didn't realize that what we had done. And now that I think about it, Jessica had mentioned that they were kind of expensive. They were on the more expensive side. We had gotten some of the collector's boosters from Lord of the Rings, and I think some of the stuff from the Wilds of Eldraine release that had happened there currently. But anyway, we opened them up, and I thought they were pretty cool. I was like, oh, these are cool. And it kind of was in fitting. I didn't know how much of a thing it was, but I just kind of set them aside. It's like, oh, this, I saw on the box where it said collectors, and I didn't think it is what it was. I just didn't know at the time because I was uninitiated, so to speak. But fast forward to last weekend, I found those stacks and a whole bunch of stuff that I'd set aside. I was like, oh, I completely forgot about all this stuff over here. Anyway, I was going through them and I was looking them up, and some of the prices, some of the stuff, like I had some pretty expensive cards that I had managed to pull, from those packs. And it's like, oh, wow, holy cow, I didn't know what I had. It's a good thing that these didn't get thrown out or something. What I'm looking to do is get some of those cards put in a nice little like leather binder that's got, like the top load or side load card pages, just as a display piece to have in the studio, just to nerd out a little bit. Like, here's my collector's Magic the Gathering cards. This is the stuff that doesn't go in decks. All right, let me check my notes here. I actually went old school and wrote them down in a notebook instead of typing them out on my phone this time. Next thing on the list, it is time for life and studio updates. As I said already before, I have finally gotten around to installing and wiring up the new 500 series rack and installing the new EQ modules. So those are up and running. And I got some filming done on the episode of Daily Tech that's going to cover my installation. I had previously said that was coming, and it's taken sort of a backseat. I've had some family stuff that I've had to go do. I did some traveling to go help out some family with some stuff, but I was otherwise busy. So I am finally getting around to doing that. I've got some good footage, and you know, I'm forging forward, one foot in front of the other. And I also mentioned this at the top. A couple of months back, I headed off in a direction of setting up a reamp channel so I can use guitar pedals as mix tools. And I got the wrong kind of reamp box, or I should say, I went cheap with it, and the box didn't last that long. And so, now I have finally gotten the actual tool that I need, and it's right up here. This is the Radial XTC-SA guitar loop interface. And it handles all of the impedance and the signal differences, and I'm able to come out into pedals and then back in. So I could set them up as a hardware insert in my DAW like I do any of this other stuff that's over here in my racks. And to go along with the reamp box and the reamp channel that I'm putting together, I had to get another power conditioner. So I've got that there. Is backwards, trying to point. I suddenly have a new respect for people who do the weather. Yeah, this is the new power conditioner. I am planning on running a desktop tabletop little area on top of my rack here, because I just purchased, and it is on the way, it's not here yet, FMR Audio RNLA, the really nice leveling amplifier. And it is a stereo unit, but it is not a rack unit. It is a tabletop unit. And I have gotten that to go with my two 76 style compressors from Lindell Audio. I can run a vocal bus through the 76s and run the RNLA at the end of the signal chain before I print back in to the DAW and get a 76 to LA signal chain. In the future purchase realm, the only thing that I am currently looking at is the room correction, and I will hopefully be able to pull the trigger on that shortly, very soon, and not too near distant future, however the saying goes. And other than that, I'm still looking and shopping around for a keyboard workstation that has onboard sounds, so I am not, triggering a module or using a VST on my laptop. All right, we have reached the part of the podcast where we do story time. Gather round, kids. It's time for me to tell a story. If you know me, you know that I struggled so hard to get through any kind of college education. And back during that time, let's see, I did anything and everything to try to get some momentum to just get through it. I've done everything from website design, graphic design, to IT, computer science, to insurance marketing, and I finally settled on music. It's who would have thought music would be the thing. But anyway, during my trials, trying to get through some kind of college education, I worked a whole slew of service, restaurant industry jobs, all the way from bussing tables to, washing dishes, front of house, back of house. I've done prep cook, line cook, you name it. One of those jobs was when I worked for a couple who owned a sandwich shop. Now, this couple has turned out to be one of the shining lights in my life. I happen to hold this couple in very, very high esteem. I worked for them 3 different times. Left and then came back, left and then came back, and then left and then came back. And it was on this third turnaround, this third term of employment with them, that I finally got some stuff through my thick skull. Like, maybe I should try my best to stick with it, be solid, and just do the job best I can and put a smile on my face and just be happy where I'm at. And so, once I started doing that, you know, people started to take notice. And I can remember that there was this one night, there was on a whim one evening, it was just one weekend when I was off of work at the sandwich shop. I happened to notice that there was a part-time position at a radio station in Macon. It was a cluster of radio stations, classic rock and a country. They had urban and gospel, and they had like a talk radio and AM station. Anyway, I noticed that there was a part-time position open, and so I applied for it. It was like one of those, why not, why not? So, I put in my application and just went about my business, and I went into work the next night, and without me knowing, and I'm going to stop right here and preface this and make a note. This is how God works. I went to work the next night, and I was just carrying on business as normal. I was being myself. Always nice, always going above and beyond and taking care of people. And this gentleman had come in, and there was a problem with his sandwich. And one thing I should actually also back up, and let you know that the night shifts at the sandwich shop, they let me handle the shop by myself so they could go handle their life things. So I'm running the dining room and the cash register. I am making sandwiches. We also had a drive-through window, so I'm also manning that and working that cash register. And so I'm doing all of this plus keeping the dining room and the restaurant clean because I'm the only person there, right? So anyway, have a little bit of a line, and there was a little bit of a mix-up, and I screwed up this guy's sandwich. And he brings it back up to me, and he was like, this isn't right. This isn't what I ordered. And I took a look at it, and I was like, oh, I profusely apologize. Let me make this right. And so I had to run to the back and say I had something come up, that I'd be right with them, at the drive-through window. I went immediately, fixed the guy's sandwich, and he had only ordered just the sandwich. So I gave him, chips and a drink. I figured if there was anything, after the fact, just take it out of my paycheck. I was trying to keep people coming back in the door, Apparently, how I handled that made an impression, because 2 days later, after the weekend, when I had another day off, the radio station gave me a call and said, asked if I can come in for an interview. And, I said, oh, freaking sweet. Yeah. Like, I'll be there like tomorrow. I could be there tomorrow. So went in for the interview. And of course, I'm wearing like khaki pants and a dress shirt, got my hair all combed over. And, I walk up to the lady in the front. She looks all nice and everything. She says, oh, yeah, Dale will be right with you. And so, I'm waiting, and he comes and gets me. And he's got like Marvel Comics t-shirt, and he's got like jean shorts, and he's got like tattoos, like a spiderweb tattoo and a Captain America tattoo and everything. And here I am, like in this interview, looking all conservative, all nice and dressed up. And anyway, um, we get to his office, and he goes, "Larry's Giant Subs." He was like, "I remember you took care of me. You're hired." Like on the spot, just because I was being nice and being myself. I want to tell you, this is how God works. God does amazing things. All right, that about does it for this one. That's another one under our belts. I hope everyone continues to have a good time and be well and live well. Next time, I do not know when it's going to be, but I am absolutely working on a daily tech. I'm working on a nerding out, and we recently had a Disney trip, so I'm working on a travel vlog. All three of those videos are coming down the pipeline. Plus, I've got some other updates and things that I'm putting together. You'll see those in a daily tech. But until then, y'all take it easy, and we'll catch you on the flip side.